Welcome to the Bettendorf Public Library's Iris Folding Take-Home Workshop. Iris folding is a type of paper craft, pretty simple but pretty dramatic, that involves using decorative papers, folding them and layering them to get this really eye-catching patterns and a little depth to your artwork. Today we will be doing a triangular pattern using 3 colors set inside a circle. And then we will be using a square pattern with 4 colors set inside a heart. In your kit, if you got one of those from the library, you will find 4 patterns of colored paper cut into strips that are 4 inches by 1 inch. You will find a heart pattern as well as the circle pattern, and these are just cut out of regular cardstock. We used the library's silhouette cutter for this. Of course, you can do it manually as well. You will find the patterns that we're using to determine how we layer our pages. We've got the triangle and square that we'll be using today, and then we threw in a pentagram too in case you decide to get really ambitious and try one more. You will also find in your kit 2 blank white folded cards that will be used for backing on our iris folding. What we'll need you to supply is tape and glue, and that's all. So let's get started. For our triangular shape that we'll be doing inside a circle, you need 3 colors of paper that we have here. We'll need our triangular template, and then we'll need their circle cut out. So you're going to want to lay your cutout over your template and center it up as much as possible. Since we have a completely symmetrical shape and a symmetrical template, we want to try and line it up so that everything is even. So we're going to want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the yellow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the red, all showing. Now we're going to take a little bit of tape and we're just going to tape that down so it doesn't go anywhere. So this pattern, each color obviously will correspond to one of your patterns of decorative paper. Each line shows where the next strip of paper will go. So we're going to start at the top with our green, kind of corresponding these to the colors on the paper just so I can keep my own self straight. So the green will be yellow, the purple paper will be the blue sections, and the red paper will be the red. So we're going to take our first strip, we're going to fold it in half, and if you have a bone, it might not be a bad idea to use it. You want this to be a very, very tight, very sharp crease here. You want this paper when you're done to lay as flat as possible because you'll be building layer upon layer, and they need to be as flat as possible. Otherwise, it gives it too much depth. It's hard to work with it in terms of it being part of a greeting card. So we've got our first one folded. I've got that really nice and tight, and we're going to start from the outside and work our way in. So we're going to line it up with the outermost line there, and you'll see we only need this much of a strip, and we have this much. So we're just going to take and measure that, and then we're just going to tear it. You can cut it if you want, but we don't need to. And we're going to layer it there. Then we're going to take some little pieces of tape. Just little ones, and we're going to stick that down. So that's step 1. Now we're going to move on to the blue part of the pattern, which is purple paper. We're going to fold it. We're going to make that fold really nice and tight. We're going to lay it out there and see how long we need it to be, and then tear it. And if you're tearing a fairly good section off, hold on to those because you might be able to use those when we get down to the center. We're using some pretty small pieces. So we're going to take the small pieces of tape again. We're going to tape that down. And we're going to keep working like that, going around and around, making things as tight and as sharp as possible. not using any more paper than we need to, because the more paper we have there, obviously, the bulkier your final project is going to be. Now, in some instances, that might be desirable. If you're using this, for example, as a mat in a picture frame, it could give you kind of a shadow box effect. You might like that. Okay, so now we've done one of each color. We're going to go back to the green, and we're going to do our next one. Now, you'll see at this stage of the game, these are not overlapping at all. They're too far out to overlap, and that's fine. We will get that layered effect as we continue moving. So we're going to take that, we're going to measure, tear, and tape. We're going to do the purple, fold it. I've tried this before, just cutting it instead of folding it. Technically, that's not iris folding, obviously. And it works, but it's not as clean of a look. No matter how sharp of a blade you have, if you're using decorative paper like this, if you cut it, there's going to be a little bit of a white edge there, and it just isn't going to look as good on your finished product. So again, we're going to fold nice and tight. Oh, not green, red. Red is next. Fold nice and tight, and lay it down, tear it, tape it. Measure, tear it, tape it. Okay, we're going to continue on like that, and all right the way down to the center. Okay, so we kept going, we kept layering as we went. We just have 2 passes left on each one. So we're going to go ahead and do it. Now we're going to start using some of these smaller pieces that we had torn off earlier, because we just don't need very large pieces in those center sections. So we've got a green, another purple, there's our red, green is that little skosh that we tore off the end there. But you want to make sure they're big enough to actually layer. You want to make sure that the purple is going over your green, the red is going over your purple. So when we flip this, your layering is going to be a little bit off. Okay, so that's our last piece. There's our red. Okay, now we can go ahead and peel this off our template and turn it around, and there you have it. Okay, so now we're ready to start a slightly more complicated iris folding project, and that includes the square template inside the heart-shaped aperture, a heart-shaped cutout. The reason this is more difficult is because you have more of an irregular shape. It is not completely symmetrical. And so you're going to be using a different number of strips for some colors than for others. So let's show you how you do that. So we're going to, again, put our heart shape over our template, and we want to line it up again so that it is aesthetically pleasing and somewhat centered. So in this case, I'm centering it more side to side. We want the tip of our heart pointing to the top of our aperture. And we are moving it up and down so that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the green sections of template, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the yellow. But you'll see we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the purple, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the red. So let's go ahead and tape this into place. I like that design. I like the direction that's going. I like that it's nice and symmetrical there. And what we're going to do is, again, we're going to start from the outside, work our way in, but we're going to do what I think of as level 8. So we have 8 sections of the green, 8 sections of the yellow. We're going to do level 8, the outermost layer, layer 8. Then we're going to do layer 7. So we'll do yellow, green, and then again yellow, green. But then when we do layer 6, we'll do yellow, green, and now we have a layer 6 in the purple, so we're going to add that one in. And then when we go to do layer 5, that's when we'll start including the red as well and work our way around from that. So we'll start again, same method. We take our paper, we fold it, we make that fold as tight, as crisp as we possibly can. We measure it. And then we tape it using our little bits of tape there. Obviously, this is going to be more colors, so it's going to be even more layers. And you can see I actually went off the little end of the card a little bit, and that's fine because I can go back in later and I can trim that if need be. So we're going to do that. Kind of confusing, but our blue is going to be our green. You, of course, can put your colors in whatever order you want. There's no right, there's no wrong. You can do it with solid colored papers. You can do it with papers that maybe somebody you know, maybe a kid has colored or painted or decorated. I've seen it done actually with recycled security envelopes, the kind that your bills come in, and the inside usually has some sort of a pattern. So they collected those over time, and they got, in this case, it would be 4 different patterns ready to go, and they save those up and they cut their strips out of that. So again, a really neat effect, a little bit more subtle because then you're talking basically kind of the same color, shades of blue usually, maybe shades of black. That was wrong. I'm not doing that one yet. See, I'm talking, I'm not paying attention. So I've done my layer 8. My layer 8, I have no layer 8 in the purple or the red, so I need to go back and do another layer 8. Or, a layer 7 now. So we're doing layer 7. Tape and the tape. And again, don't worry if you go off the edge, we can trim those. We're doing a blue layer 7. Nice and tight. I'm going to measure. And tape. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 6 layers of purple, so we don't have a layer 7 there. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to layer 6. But we always start with the same layer. So we're going to fold it. You caught me there measuring before I folded. Fold it. And tape it. And we'll go to the blue, fold it, and tape our layer 6. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have 6 layers, so now it's time to start with the purple. So we fold it and lay that one in, but we're going to skip 5. We don't have a layer 6 on the red part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to skip the red because we don't have a layer 6 there. We're going to head back up to the green. We're going to start with our 5th layer 5, and I'm counting those layers from the center out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's layer 5, and that one I'm not even going to tear off because I want it to go all the way out to the ends here. I'm trying as much as possible to avoid layering too much. we'll do layer 5 in the blue. We want our layers to be as flat as we can get them, so that if we decide we want to put this in an envelope and send it off to our best friend who lives across the country and we haven't seen for a while, they'll be able to fit in the envelope. Okay, nice and tight, nice and sharp on those creases. This one I will tear off a little bit. Okay, so now, since it's layer 5 and we have 5 layers in the red section, now we're going to start with our red. Measure that. And tape it. And from here on in now, it's just like the one we already did. We're just going to keep going in that same order for these last 4 layers. We're going to cover those. We're going to tape them. And we'll just keep going round and round, making sure your layers are on top of each other all the way around. Okay, we're down to our very last layer, so we're going to take these little pieces and we're going to go ahead and tape them in there. I'm using my scissors to cut my tape because I just want these little pieces of tape. It doesn't seem like it would make that much of a difference, but when you have this many layers, every little bit helps to keep it as flat and streamlined as possible. Now again, maybe that's not the effect you're going for. Maybe you want something a little bulkier, a little more dimensional because you're using it in a way that will work, perhaps in a shadow box, in which case that's not something you would need to worry about. How you're going to use your finished piece will also make a difference in terms of what kind of paper. This is a fairly standard weight, I would say, decorative paper. It's not too thick, it's not bulky, it's not textured in any way, and so it's going to come out a little bit flatter than something like a construction paper or an embossed paper or even a cardstock or something like that would. Okay, so that's our last piece. Kind of messy on the back, but let's see what happens when we peel it off our template. It's gorgeous. So now we're going to finish our cards now that we've got our folding done. We're going to trim around the edges. You see we've got a little tape sticking out here, so we're just going to take and trim that off. If you have edges of your paper or something sticking out, you might want to just run a scissors, or if you have an X-Acto knife, you can run a sharp blade down there and just trim those extra off. Then we're going to take our glue stick and we're just going to run it around the edges. And I'm going to run it a little bit over the paper too, taking care not to pull any of that up. And then we're just going to flip it and lay it down on the front of our card. And there you go. Now, if you have a section where, you know, the top is overlapping there a little bit, again, if your iris fold doesn't match the front of your card, just give it a little trim. And there you have it. You can also do a little something in there, a little heart in. You could have backed this, actually, if your aperture was a little bit larger especially, you could back this with a photo so that you would have a photo in there, and that also would do it really nice. We did the same thing here with our circle and our triangle template, and you just open it up and there's a nice little blank card for you to send to that friend.